The evening air was crisp, with the golden rays of the setting sun stretching across the city streets. Inside one of the most luxurious restaurants downtown, chandeliers glimmered like diamonds and classical music played softly in the background. The restaurant was famous for its exclusivity. Only the wealthy and fashionable usually walked through its glass doors. Tonight, the tables were filling with business tycoons, socialites, and those who could afford to spend a small fortune on a single meal. Among the guests who entered that evening was a woman who stood out, not because she was overdressed or glamorous, but because she looked so very ordinary. Her name was Anya. She was wearing a plain cotton dress, faded at the edges from years of washing. Her shoes were simple, worn at the heel, and her hair was tied back in a loose bun. There was nothing about her appearance that suggested she belonged. In such a high-class place, Anya had stepped in with quiet confidence, holding a small handbag close to her. She wasn't someone who usually visited places like this. In fact, she avoided them, believing her world was far away from glittering glasses and expensive wine. But today she had a reason. She was here to meet a friend she hadn't seen. In years, they had agreed to catch up, and though her friend insisted on meeting in this upscale restaurant, Anya felt it would be rude to refuse. The moment she entered, however, eyes turned. Some customers gave her quick, judgmental glances. Others whispered under their breath, wondering who she was. She ignored them, focusing on the task of finding her friend. She approached the hostess stand where a young woman with a sharp jawline and perfectly styled hair stood behind a podium. "Good evening," Anya said softly. "I'm here to meet someone. Could you check if my friend has arrived? Her name is Clara." The hostess looked her up and down, her expression instantly shifting to one of disdain. "Are you sure you're in the right place?" she asked, her voice dripping with arrogance. "Yes," Anya replied patiently. "This is La Belle Maison, isn't it?" "It is," the hostess said coldly, "but we have a strict dress code here. Our guests are expected to maintain a certain standard." Her eyes swept over Anya's plain dress as if it were an insult. "I'm afraid I can't let you stay." Anya blinked, taken aback. "But I'm not here for a table. I'm only meeting a friend."
Oh.
The hostess crossed her arms. "It doesn't matter. You don't fit the atmosphere of this establishment. I'll have to ask you to leave." A few customers nearby chuckled, and one whispered loudly enough for her to hear, "She must be lost. Look at her clothes." Anya's cheeks flushed with embarrassment, but she remained calm. "Please, just check for Clara. I won't take up a seat." The hostess rolled her eyes. "I already told you, you don't belong here. We can't have people like you wandering in and ruining the experience for paying guests. Out. Now." Her tone was harsh enough to draw attention. Several diners were now openly staring, their curiosity piqued by the spectacle. Anya's hands trembled slightly, but she drew in a slow breath. She had never been one to cause a scene, and so she turned toward the door. The humiliation burned in her chest as she walked away, her footsteps echoing too loudly in her ears. Outside, she stood. On the sidewalk, blinking back tears, the street was alive with people walking by, cars zooming past, and neon signs starting to glow as night approached. She pulled her shawl tighter around her shoulders and waited, unsure of what to do next. Clara hadn't answered her messages. Yet and now, she didn't even know if her friend had arrived. As the minutes passed, something unexpected happened. A sleek black Porsche pulled up right in front of the restaurant. Its polished surface reflected the city lights, and heads turned instantly. The car exuded wealth, luxury, and power, a symbol of status that fit perfectly with the restaurant's clientele. The engine purred as it came to a stop, and the valet hurried forward. From the driver's seat stepped a tall, confident man in his early 40s. His suit was tailored to perfection, his shoes gleamed, and his wrist bore a watch worth more than most people's annual salary. His presence was magnetic. People in the restaurant craned their necks to catch a glimpse. The hostess at the door straightened her posture, preparing to greet this important-looking guest.
Oh.
But then something happened that left her frozen. The man's eyes swept the sidewalk, and the moment he spotted Anya, his face broke into the warmest smile. "Anya," he called, striding toward her. His voice carried so much affection that passersby stopped to watch. Anya's lips curved into a small, relieved smile. "You're here," she said softly. He reached her in a few steps and immediately placed his hand on her shoulder, looking at her with concern. "Why are you standing outside? I thought you'd be waiting inside." Before she could answer, the hostess rushed forward, her earlier arrogance replaced by sudden panic. "Sir, I didn't know she was with you. I thought the man." Turned, his eyes narrowing. "You thought what?" His tone was sharp, powerful enough to silence the crowd that had gathered near the entrance. "I thought she was lost," the hostess stammered. "You thought wrong," he said firmly. "This woman is my wife." His words hit like thunder. Gasps rippled through the onlookers. Inside the restaurant, people pressed against the windows too. "See better?" The woman they had mocked minutes earlier was the wife of this man, and not just any man. His name was Adrian Kane, a billionaire businessman whose face often appeared in financial magazines. The hostess's face drained of color. I'm so sorry, Mr. Kane. I didn't realize Adrian didn't let her finish." "You humiliated her. You judged her because she doesn't dress in designer labels. Do you think that makes her less worthy? You should be ashamed." The hostess stuttered, unable to form words. Anya gently touched Adrian's arm. "All right," she whispered. She wasn't the kind to hold grudges or demand apologies, but Adrian wasn't finished. He turned back to the hostess. "You should know something," he said coldly. "The wealthiest person in the room is often not the one in the flashiest clothes. It's the one who doesn't need to prove anything. My wife's simplicity is her strength, and if this restaurant doesn't respect her, then it doesn't deserve our presence." Without another word, he opened the Porsche's door for Anya. She slipped inside quietly, and Adrian joined her. The car roared to life, and as it drove away, the people at the restaurant were left in stunned silence. Inside the car, Anya let out a long sigh. Adrian glanced at her, his expression softening. "I'm sorry you had to go through that. You didn't deserve it." She gave him a small smile. "It doesn't matter. I'm used to being underestimated." "It matters to me," Adrian said firmly. He reached over and squeezed her hand. "You're my wife, my partner, my everything. And anyone who can't see your worth doesn't deserve a second of your time." Anya's heart swelled with emotion. She had never cared for material things, never sought attention or recognition. She was content with the simple life, even after marrying a billionaire. Adrian had fallen in love with her kindness, her humility, her grounded nature. To him, she was priceless, far beyond the value of any jewels or fancy dresses. That night, instead of dining at the extravagant restaurant, Adrian drove them to a small cafe they both loved, the kind of place where no one cared what you wore. They sat in a quiet corner, holding hands, laughing and sharing stories. For them, that was true luxury, being together without pretense or judgment. And while the world might always look at appearances first, Anya and Adrian knew the truth. Real worth is invisible to the eyes.